All right, let's start our week 11 preview. So, we've got a pretty trimmed down list this week. Not that many big games, but that does not mean we're not in for an interesting slate. This past week, people were looking at is a dud slate, had multiple big upsets. So, I'm excited about this one. We picked six of our most interesting games to pick this week. We're going to start with Oregon at Iowa in Kinnick Stadium. I've got Oregon winning this one 27-16. I think that the run game from Iowa will play the biggest catalyst in this game because I feel like Oregon's going to struggle early to move the ball, and then we see the kind of offensive firepower that they've got an advantage with in this game late. They'll probably carry them to a win. I just don't think that they'll be able to break that 30-point barrier against a solid Iowa team, probably at night in Kinnick Stadium. Iowa's run game, if they can get really going, which we saw Indiana do against Oregon, could keep this game close. I think Oregon's clearly the better team. I actually had Iowa winning this game as an upset preseason, but like we just talked about, preseason really does not matter that much. So I'm not going to stick with any preconceived notions here. And I like Oregon's profile a lot better. I like the quarterback position clearly a lot better. Mark Gronowski is not a strong passer right now in this system. Dante Moore is an elite quarterback. He hasn't played his best ball later this season. People have been knocking him for the Wisconsin game, but he got injured, and it was a night rain game against a still a not terrible defense. So I'm not disappointed with that game. I'm not going to take anything too crazy out of it, but Oregon winning by 11 in Kinnick Stadium is my score prediction. I think that Oregon will get the passing game going and close this one out late.
I think this will be a really close, gritty game, kind of like what we saw out of Indiana versus Oregon. And I have a pretty similar score as well. I have Oregon holding on 20-17 in Kinnick.
Yeah, I'll be tuning in for this one. This one has big playoff implications because if Iowa sneaks a win here, you've got two-loss Oregon, two-loss Iowa, both with decent wins. It's
Be
going to be
really
hard to leave
interesting.
both of them out if they win out, which neither of them would make the Big Ten championship at this rate because it'll be undefeated Indiana against undefeated Ohio State. So maybe both of them sneak in, but I don't think anybody wants to see Iowa make the playoffs. So hopefully that will not happen. I would hate for Ole Miss to get a home game and then have to play Iowa at home. That would probably be the worst outcome possible. I don't even know if I'd go to that game, and I've been saying I'd go to an Ole Miss playoff game my whole life, so would not go to that. The next game we've got is BYU at Texas Tech. I just talked about this one when we were breaking down our playoff prediction poll, and to be completely honest with you, everything in me is telling me that Texas Tech in the line probably is where it's at, and I need to take Texas Tech. But BYU being undefeated and winning in the ways that they're winning, I think quarterback play is probably advantage BYU. I did not really give Bear Bachmeier the credit he deserved early in the season. He's played great. He's not the reason that they've struggled in some of these games early on.
He's going to be one of the best, if not the best, freshman in college football right now.
Absolutely. I think he should be getting a lot more attention than he is. I'm not a BYU homer or anything. I've been picking against them all season, but I think it's time to start showing some respect to this Cougars team. I'm going to take them to win in Texas Tech 37-31 on top of probably a strong performance from Bear Bachmeier and company running the ball. Off the play action, I think they find some big plays. Parker Kingston's been a stud. I like their receivers. They've been pretty solid. You just never know with BYU teams who's going to show up at the beginning of the season. And by the middle of the season, you see a bunch of guys, you're like, dang, where did they get these guys from? But other people just completely whiffed on in recruiting. Low profile guys end up being studs. The Puka Nakuas of the world, they end up pulling those players. And they end up being good most seasons. So I like where they're at. Texas Tech, the answer's got to be at quarterback in this game. Baron Warren's gonna have to play his best game of the whole season right here. They're gonna have to find down the field passing because BYU is going to make them throw the ball in this game to win. Texas Tech can run the ball and still win games, but I think BYU is gonna make them throw it. And I bet a couple key turnovers lean BYU's way if they win this game, and that's what we end up looking back on. I'm not extremely confident in this pick. The line is minus 10.5 Texas Tech, and if we were still doing Call the Dogs, this would be my pick, but I don't feel extremely great about it. I'm just tired of picking against BYU, which is why I said last week with Vanderbilt and Texas, and Vanderbilt lost. So maybe this is BYU's time to finally lose, like I had been saying up to this point, but I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to take BYU, and I think their consistency as a football team and their complementary football will get them this win.
I have BYU as well. They are probably the best team in the nation at taking advantage of other teams' mistakes. And Texas Tech has made a decent amount of mistakes at certain points in games this year. And especially if Baron Morton is banged up, not 100% in this game, if he were to go out in this game somehow, would really feel good about BYU. I think they capitalized on enough mistakes to beat Texas Tech 31-28.
I think this will be probably the deciding factor in the Big 12 for me. There's a couple teams kind of hanging around, but these look like the two best teams right now. If I had to pick, other than Utah, which played close with Texas Tech until the fourth quarter and lost by 3 against BYU in the fourth quarter. So I think those are the three best teams, but these two teams with big wins over Utah are going to probably establish after this weekend who the best team in the Big 12 is moving forward. The next game we've got is Texas A&M at Missouri. I don't like this spot for Missouri. Quarterback is out until further notice. Bo Pribula had a tough dislocated ankle injury against Vanderbilt last week, and I think they just came fresh off of a bye going into this game. Texas A&M also fresh off of a bye. At Missouri is a good advantage here, but I just don't think Missouri is going to be able to run the ball to a win, which is what they would need to do to win here. Even though Texas A&M has been bad against the run in different parts of the season, Arkansas had a lot of success against them on the ground. UTSA and Utah State had a successful game plan against them on the ground. There were several other teams that were able to expose a little bit of weakness there for A&M, but overall, I just don't think that without good quarterback play, which we did talk about, their backup quarterback, Matt Zollers, actually has played pretty well down the stretch against Vanderbilt in that game. He could play well in this game, but I think the pass rush from A&M will be too much. I just don't see that being a reliable force for them in this game. Um, the only way they have a chance is if they get that stretch game going against A&M with Mott Hardy. It's just the only way I see it having a chance.
I like A&M to win here. I feel like if A&M's at their best and Missouri's at their best, A&M wins this game. The quarterback questions, obviously, you're going to see Zoller start a game. We don't really know what we're going to get. He did play good down the stretch against Vandy, but getting a whole game sample might be different. So I like A&M here to be consistent. I trust them so much more with Elko at head coach than I did with Jimbo Fisher, and I think they get this one.
Yeah, and what sticks out to me here is the defensive line of Texas A&M. Cassius Howell is a freak of nature. He's going to live in the backfield in this game. Missouri's offensive line has struggled in pass protection most of the season. I don't see that changing
And
here.
with the true freshman back there,
He's going to get eaten alive.
yeah.
I think he'll have some good plays. I think we'll see some bright spots from him, but that'll be the catalyst in this game outside of the run is if they can even protect their quarterback when they need to run the play action off the stretch. I just don't think they'll be able to do it. I really like Marcel Reed right now when he keeps the ball safe. Marcel Reed, when he throws stupid throws, he's not my favorite. And if I was an A&M fan, I'd feel the same way. He hasn't shown that that can cost them games yet. He's made some dumb decisions in most of their games, but he's also made some of the best plays I've seen all season on the ground and through the air. He's got so much talent in his arm and in his legs. He can do it all. He is a passer. Like he said in his press conference the other day, people have been calling him a running back, kind of Lamar Jackson esque almost. He's a passer. He may not be the most accurate passer, but when he's on, he's on. I think that this Missouri secondary is very susceptible. I look at games like when they played South Carolina at home. The Norse absolutely tore them up for over 300 yards, and they still lost. But I just don't think that they're going to be nearly the passing attack that A&M's got with Mario Craver and Kevin Concepcion. And they've got another guy coming on. I forget the guy's name, but he's been playing really, really well for them at their three slot receiver. They're dangerous. And their run game with Ruben Owens has been solid. And with Marcel Reed running the ball, it's just too much. I've got A&M winning 38-17 here. I do see a scenario where maybe it's more of a rock fight. Defensively, Missouri has some guys on the edge. They could make it interesting. Maybe we see some more dumb decisions from Marcel Reed for the first time all season that cost him. But I think A&M wins handily here.
I didn't say my score. I have it 34-24, A&M.
Yeah, I see a double-digit win here for the Aggies, improving them to 10-0. To be crazy. It might be 9-0. I think they're 8-0 right now, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're 8-0 right now.
Yes, if they get to 9-0, I mean, the only way they could get to 4 losses is they lose every single game left on their schedule.
And they play
still have
Samford.
yeah, they still have a game
Yeah.
against Sanford. So this is to officially break the curse. I probably shouldn't have said that. All the A&M fans who would ever listen to this podcast would probably be less than 5, if not
Uh,
less than 3, are probably going to be terrified that I even brought it up and might jinx it. But A&M has consistently been a team that falls apart in November. I don't know this is going to happen this year. So we'll have to watch this game being a catalyst. The next game we've got LSU at Alabama, make or break for LSU. At this point, I feel like they're dead in the water. There are still people who think that they could salvage their season right here. I just don't see it happening. I think that this team is unable to protect the quarterback. I think Alabama's got playmakers on the edge, and they're going to be all over Garrett Nussmeier. They're going to force him to throw the ball down the field because they can't run, they can't protect the passer. They're super one-dimensional offense. I like Alabama to win this game, 34-24 at least. I see it being another blowout possibly, but the only reason I didn't pick Alabama by multiple touchdowns here is because I'm looking at the games they've had in the past couple of years against Alabama, the games that they've lost. Past two against Jalen Milroe, where he took over the game with the quarterback run. They don't have that this year. I think that that's probably the biggest difference for me. Even though I like this Alabama team holistically better, and I think they will win confidently, I don't think it'll be a blowout because I don't think they'll be able to lean on the quarterback run,
And
which
that's just not the
tears them up.
style of win that they get. Bama usually doesn't blow out teams just the way they are right now. They win a lot, but they don't really kill anybody.
Yeah, I think that's how this game will probably profile. If you look at how LSU has really struggled in late season games against Alabama and A&M over the past 2 years, it's been quarterback run. Like Marcel Reed cooked them this year and last year on the ground and through the air. Jalen Milroe tore them up back to back years and ended their seasons pretty unfortunately 2 years in a row. So this season, to me, I think it plays a lot differently in Alabama's favor once again, but I just don't think we see the same schematical advantage as we did last time. Passing the ball, Alabama's clearly got the advantage. They're way more consistent. They protect the ball, but they're playing against one of the best defenses they've seen all year in the entire country. So I don't know if they'll continue to expose LSU like everybody else has, because I don't know that Alabama can run the ball enough to make that happen. But if they do get the run game going, look for it to possibly be a blowout. So
I'm really curious to see how this LSU team looks now that Brian Kelly's out of the building, and especially with the way that some people talked about him just not being that good of a coach and like towards his players specifically, like how he treats them and stuff. The guy they have in there now apparently is a player's coach that is the intern going the rest of the way. So we'll see if that ignites a fire under LSU. If they trot out a banged up Nussmeier out there, they're not going to win this game, like 0% chance. But if they give Van Buren a chance, maybe he could find something, open up the run game a little bit. Maybe this game could be a little bit competitive, but I don't know what they're going to do with that. I trust Bama at home here. They absolutely blew the doors off LSU on the road last year. I don't think that happens again. Most of these teams that have come off firing their coach have played well the next week. So I think LSU plays a decently competitive game here. 31-20. I like Bama to win this one though.
yeah, I'm not sure exactly what LSU team we're going to see. I just don't think even if we see the best version of them that they really do have a legitimate chance. It could be close, but an invigorated team with a fire under them with Frank Wilson at head coach interim right now, I don't even think they're capable of legitimately giving Alabama everything that they want in this game. I'm looking forward to possibly having a chance to go to this game. We're looking at ticket prices. We're going to make a judgment call because we actually have another game that we're going to go to most likely. So we were going to try to double up. We'll talk about that game. It's after the next one we're previewing, but gonna see if we can make it to this one. Be a really fun game. I've never been to LSU against Alabama. It's a huge game every season, even if one of the teams is not necessarily in the postseason race. It always ends up having a huge crowd and a great atmosphere. I'd love to go to this game, but we're gonna watch those ticket prices and see if it makes sense for us. So the next game we've got is Tulane at Memphis. Unfortunately, once again, a what could have been really good Group of Five playoff determining game has been tarnished because Tulane goes and plays UTSA this past week and gets blown out.
That was just completely out of left field. Did not
Yeah,
see that coming.
I mentioned that we were talking about it. It was not on the podcast last week, but we talked about it when we were looking over games this week, and I just didn't feel great about it. To be honest with you, it felt like a real letdown game for them. I didn't pick it or anything. I didn't bet on it, but it just looked weird. And sure enough, they get curb stomped by UTSA, and they now have two losses. So I think, wait, is that even a conference game for them?
Yeah, it's a conference game.
So they only have one conference loss though. They still are in it technically to be in the conference championship, but
This
to
would be a
me,
must win.
a two-loss Tulane team out of the conference championship, I don't know if they should make the playoffs at that point.
I mean, if James Madison were to go 12-1, they would definitely
Or
be
San
above an
Diego
11 and
State
2
out of
Tulane,
the Mountain
or San
West,
Diego State, who's now 7-1.
one of the best total defenses in the country. I don't like this game for Tulane at Memphis. I think that Memphis is going to come away with a solid offensive performance behind a hopefully healthy Brennan Lewis. I think that this game entirely depends on their offensive output. Defensively, they're hit or miss, but Tulane, their defense is terrible. I think Brendan Lewis, on top of a really solid offensive outing, carries them to a 41-27 win. Ground game's got to get going, though. Tulane has shown time and time again that their defense is so susceptible in both categories, rush and passing defense. I think that Memphis is going to expose them in the passing game. So I'm taking the Tigers 41-27.
I like Memphis here. I feel like they have, or no, I don't feel like they have. They have new life after losing that UAB game after beating USF and then taking care of business against Rice. I think they continue to do the same thing here at home. Tulane, though, they really need to show something after losing to UTSA like that, but this is a really difficult spot to do that. I just feel like Memphis is the better team. They're probably the most talented team in the G5. I think they win this one 31 to or 38 to 21 against Tulane.
Yeah, and I don't hate Tulane this season. I think they're a better G5 team. I just don't think they deserve to make the playoff. That's really all I'm saying. They lose in a blowout 45-10 against Ole Miss, which could have been closer, but they couldn't throw the ball. If they could have thrown the ball, it probably would have been a little bit closer, like maybe 38-21 kind of game, but they clearly had a talent disadvantage there, really struggling in the passing game, protecting the quarterback who did not run the ball extremely well. That's their whole strength. If Jake Retzlaff gets going, that's when they win football games. He has not done that lately. They lose in a blowout to UTSA, can't get the run game going with Jake Retzlaff, get absolutely bombed through the air. So, two of their biggest losses are when they don't get the run game going, their only losses, and when they allow the opposing quarterback to have a huge day. Trinidad, and I think it was forgot what the guy's name is for UTSA. It's like Owen McCown or something,
Yeah.
but he torched them. Absolutely torched them. One of the best quarterback performances of the entire week. So I think that Tulane's just not going to be able to match up well against the passing offense at Memphis. So we both have Memphis winning.
And especially with how good Brendan Lewis has been playing as of late. He's gotten much better throughout the year.
Yep, Heisman winner in our dynasty.
Yeah.
So a lot of hype behind him in our inner circle of college football watching. We definitely have had our fun watching him play this year. So I like Memphis in this one. Next, we've got Georgia going to start Vegas to take on Mississippi State, coming off their first SEC win in 2 seasons, going back to 2023
Yeah, our
against Arkansas.
great 7-3 win against Arkansas that
That
year.
was the 7-3 game.
Yes.
Oh, dude, I forgot
Mike
about
Wright
that.
masterclass.
Oh, Mike Wright, dude. Every time I drive past the Mike Wright Jewelers on Old Fannin, I think about him.
Me too.
It's so funny. But I think he actually got a sponsorship from them. I
That's
saw
funny.
maybe an NIL deal. I might have to double check that, but I think he did. Which is really funny. I don't know where he's at right now. Didn't
East
he?
Carolina.
Huh. Oh, he's still there? I remember him being there. I didn't realize he
He
was
went to Northwestern after state and then went to East Carolina.
Yep.
But he comes in for like special packages and stuff, but he don't do it the whole time.
He's been all over the country. It's crazy. He's still in the league. But yeah, I'm excited for Mississippi State. They're above 500 right now. I've been kind of on the bandwagon later into this season as they started to kind of prove me right with that 4-1 hot start beating Arizona State, which is still, in my opinion, a great win. Even though Arizona State struggled with injuries and lost some games down the stretch, they had a big win this week without their starters at quarterback.
Jeff
Sam Leonard.
Sims.
Yeah, we got to talk about that real quick.
Oh,
Let's take a little bit of a plug here. I've been dunking on Jeff Sims lately. He's not really a great quarterback in my opinion, but he had 29 carries for over 225 on the ground and 2 touchdowns against Iowa
I
State.
didn't realize it
Threw
ended
for
up being
another
that
like
much.
150 and a touchdown and a pick, but
Golly.
I've never seen a quarterback do that legitimately. I think the two best quarterback performances I remember, only because I watched them as an Ole Miss fan, were Matt Corral against Tennessee and Knoxville in the mustard and the golf ball throw game. Anybody
Hmm.
remembers the game where they threw all the trash at Lane Kiffin? Matt Corral had like 30 carries for 200 yards in that game. He ran the ball the whole game, and we cooked him. And then John Rice Plumlee had over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns against the national championship LSU team in
That game
Oxford.
was nuts.
I was at that game. It was ridiculous, and we ended up still losing by like 3 touchdowns. I think it was like 59-38 or something. It was horrible, but John Rice Plumlee had an all-time quarterback performance in that game. Those were just the games that come to the top of my head because I remember them so well. But I'm sure there's been a lot of other quarterback performances similar to that. This one just stuck out to me with Jeff Sims. So that's my plug for Jeff Sims. A little bit of love for him because of how bad he's been this season to have a huge game. Mississippi State came up huge in this game in the fourth quarter, but so did the refs. I want to talk about that real quick.
Thank you, refs.
Arkansas had, was it 15 or 17 penalties?
18.
18 penalties for over 190 yards in this game. They've never seen that before. The refs had more total yards in this game than State did in like 3 quarters. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't think that you can really make the case that without the refs, State had any business winning this game. But at the same time, Arkansas also shot themselves in the foot on most of these. So you can't blame it all on the refs. I felt like there were a couple calls that weren't super great. A lot of these were 15-yard drive extending penalties. On one of y'all's touchdown drives, they had three 15-yard penalties that walked y'all into the end zone. That was bad.
Actually, Kamario Taylor walked into the end zone.
That's fair. He did walk in the end zone on that drive, but we got him all the way down into the red zone with the referees doing what they were doing. Point being, Mississippi State only had like 5 penalties in this game for like
4.
maybe like 40 yards or something like
18 to
that.
4.
It was awful. Like the Ole Miss LSU game was a game that was really bad. Auburn's had a couple really bad games. As far as total referee yards, this was the worst one I've ever seen.
Arkansas had 194 passing yards and 193 penalty
It's
yards.
awful. That's terrible. We can't have that in college football. I'm not saying don't call obvious penalties, but we got to start looking at these SEC refs because it's just been awful all season. This makes no sense to me.
I want to go back and watch this game over the course of this week and then report back next week in the podcast and just say if I thought it was terrible or not. Because I actually didn't get to watch this game super close, like to be able to really tell how bad all these penalties were. But I'm going to go look closely into that and then see and report back next week.
Yeah, I think that a Landon investigation here would be something good for us. We need to have more substance to talk about here because I'm just going off of I watched the game. It felt wrong to me. I don't have any specific examples that I can rip off the top of my head right now, but it felt wrong. So regardless, Mississippi State ended up being the better team on the field to me. Kamario Taylor comes in with a clutch touchdown, and then Blake Shapen
2
returns to
clutch
the game,
touchdowns.
rushing and passing. And then Blake Shapen comes back and delivers the game-winning touchdown pass. If he could get protection from the offensive line, he would be a much better football player, period. He's indecisive because he knows that at any point his offensive line could collapse on him. That's why you see him do what he does, where he panics after that first read, or he sits in the pocket for too long, or he waits 3 seconds to decide he wants to run when he sees a huge gap open up in the offensive line. That's just how it goes when you have bad offensive line play. I think he's played really well most of the season until the fourth quarter. But this game, they right the ship. They get a win to get 5-4. I don't think we ended up releasing our preseason picks this year, but I'm currently, if we had,
You mean like the game by game?
yeah, we were going to do a game by game prediction, which we decided to pass on from the preseason. But I had Mississippi State finishing 6-6. Their over under win total was like 4. I've currently gotten all these games right,
I've gotten everyone right besides Arizona State.
but
I
I'm
actually had
not
them winning in the preseason.
I'm not going to give myself credit here because I picked Mississippi State to win in almost every single game this season, week by week. But from preseason, this is probably one of the only teams I really kind of nailed on the head because I felt like they would probably take 2 SEC wins, Arkansas, and then I'm expecting them to win against Missouri still. I think they can win that game. But they're going to have to protect the quarterback. Regardless, I had them starting 4-1 with the upset win against ASU, and then moving forward, they only win the next 2 against Missouri and Arkansas. Finished 6-6. That's a huge result for Mississippi State if they're able to pull that off. We'll see. But this game, some people have on upset watch. I don't feel that way. I think Georgia is clearly the better football team. And as much as I would love to give Mississippi State a chance here with some of my money, the line is way too close.
Seven and a
Seven
half.
and a half. I mean, come on. Like, it could be a close game, granted, but I would absolutely never bet money on this game. I think Georgia probably will win by double dig. I'm going to take Georgia to win 42-31 in a relatively high scoring affair. I do see a scenario where State struggles offensively at some point. Georgia's got more talent, but
Georgia's not great at rushing the passer, though. And
their
that
defense has been sluggish.
plays great into our offense.
But I thought they played well against Florida this
Offensive
past
line.
week in Jacksonville. So that gives me a little bit of hope, but I see points for Mississippi State. That's why I've got it where it's at. If they can protect the quarterback, then they should score. Georgia, I think, is just going to have their way offensively. Being able to be as balanced as they are, I think Gunnar Stockton has a pretty solid performance to propel them into a matchup soon against Texas for probably a at-large playoff spot for Texas, which is huge. And if they lose, they're probably going to miss out on the SEC championship game and try to be playing in for an at-large bid. So that's a huge game down the stretch. Georgia cannot be looking ahead. They have to take care of business in Starkville, which has proven to be a really tough environment this year to win in. I like Blake Shapen to find some really good points in this game for State through the air. If they can get the run game going with Davin Booth and Fluff Bothwell, I think that they'll make it close.
We got to have Albert Reese back on the offensive line. If
That
we
made
don't
a
have him
difference.
back, then we're cooked because we cannot run the ball for crap yesterday against an Arkansas team that has a crap run defense. So he
Worst
just
run
he
defense in the
makes he
SEC.
makes such a huge difference on the offensive line. So if he's back, I like our odds a lot more. But if he's not, then it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I think his profile is a lot like the game last year, except nobody saw it really coming last year that they were going to give
41 to
Georgia a
31 last
scare.
year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar. That's why I've got the game being 42-31. I think it's going to be pretty close to what we saw last year. I like Georgia a lot right now. If I was being as much of a homer as I had been up to this point and the line was bigger, I would probably bet a little bit of money on it, but I don't see a scenario unless Blake Shapen has the best game of his career that they win.
So this year Mississippi State is 8-1 against the spread. I think they moved to 9-1 this week. Right now it's 7.5. I have them losing by a touchdown here. I think the offense will be able to do well. Georgia is not amazing at pressuring the quarterback that plays into Mississippi State, having a weaker offensive line, so we should be able to have some time back there actually. So I think we're able to produce pretty good on offense. We've been great on offense, or great, yeah, great on offense at home. Georgia, I do think they're going to be able to move the ball up just fine against State. I have them getting to 38 points, State at 31, so 38-31, Georgia.
Yeah, I think we're going to end up going to this game. That's what it's looking like for us. So that will be our second trip to Starkville this year. I'm excited about it. At least my second trip. I know you've been to another game. You
Well,
went to the Tennessee
Tennessee
game.
game, yeah.
So I have yet to be to, I haven't gone to a game in Starkville that's been bad. I'm 1-0 in games going to Starkville. And then you went to the Tennessee game, even though y'all lost, it was a great game. I fully anticipate this one to be fun. It may not be close in the fourth quarter, down in the stretch, but there's always a real chance it could be. So I'm excited about this. Looking to possibly have a doubleheader with the LSU Alabama game. Continuing to watch those ticket prices, but I think it's only an 80-minute drive for us to get from Starkville to
Yeah,
Tuscaloosa.
real close.
So we're looking to try and do that. It could be a really fun week for some SEC football, maybe some upsets. We'll see. Definitely not our biggest slate of the whole season. I think that a lot of people look at this as a sleeper slate, possibly a disappointing slate. I think we have some really fun games. I'm looking forward to it. Chaos is what you expect in November. We're in the make or break season. I bet we see a couple of these games go a really interesting way that we didn't see coming. Typical college football this day and age. I fully anticipate that. That'll wrap up our week 11 preview.